Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about a video I saw on YouTube about how to quit scrolling and make it possible to do hard things, something like that. And the guy was talking about dopamine and whatever. I'm just going to talk about, I took notes on the whole video. I'm just going to talk about the notes that I took, and I'm trying to do basically what he was saying. So uh, he said that like a depleted brain will always default to ease, and that's true. So he like kind of started by talking about how like you have dopamine in your brain, and then your brain always wants to like remain at homeostasis, which is basically like a balance of dopamine. And when you do something that gives you fast dopamine, it'll just spike your brain's dopamine, and then you'll get a crash after. And the fast things are like uh, junk food, scrolling, um, checking social media, porn. And he said that you gotta purge your life of all the activities that are causing a spike into dopamine and the crash into pain. Because, like, once you spike your dopamine, you're just gonna feel like shitty after, like, crashed, tired, groggy, not motivated to do nothing. Um, and so he said you gotta basically cut like 90% of that stuff, and then you can schedule 10% because it's hard. You're more unlikely to stick with it or succeed if you just try and cut 100%, which is kind of true actually. So he said like schedule 10% of what you used to do. So like for me, like I'll end up binging porn. Um, like I'll be like off of it for a long time, and then I'll just like end up binging it because it's like such a habit I've had for so long. But for me also, I'm not really a junk food person as much. I kind of cut that out. I do eat fast food sometimes though, and I do actually really like junk food, but mainly I'll eat like fast food or like certain types of food. That's kind of really satisfying, and I get like cravings for it. Like for instance, like Wendy's, I get cravings for the burgers there, and I get cravings for chicken nuggets, and I don't know, I just get cravings for these things. But I definitely avoid sugar, so I don't drink the drinks, and I try to avoid most of the carbs, so I don't eat the fries. But still, I definitely enjoy burgers and nuggets or chicken tenders. But that's like a huge one. And then scrolling as well. um, I'm addicted to scrolling YouTube and refreshing and scrolling like other apps. Like this app I use called Talk Life, which is like an app for like depressed people or like mentally ill people. It's like just like a place where you post stuff about your like life. And then like I scroll that one, and then sometimes I scroll like Twitter or X, and not as often though. But definitely YouTube is the big one, which I've actually had that habit since I was a kid because I started watching YouTube in like 2007. It really started heavily though, like 2008, and then 2009 was when I made my first account, but I had been on it for a while. And then I just watched YouTube throughout my entire life since. So I would have been like 2008, 2007, 2008. I would have been like 12 or 13. So that's like going on like 17 years basically of just like being on YouTube too much. And then lately, actually, since the last couple weeks, I got into the bad habit of scrolling Instagram. And Instagram's a fast dopamine one, and they're all fast dopamine, but they're all like basically trying to hijack your brain, is the truth. And then yeah, also porn is a bad one for me because I was addicted to porn for my entire life since I was literally 5 years old, which is just crazy. I've only heard of like one other person say that they were addicted to it from a younger age. Someone said they were addicted from age 4. And that's also crazy. That's actually literally sad. So it's sad for both of us, but yeah. But a lot of guys actually use porn, so it's a huge one. I think it's like almost like all guys, 95% or something crazy like that. But also women do too. Not all, but a lot of women, like 30%. Sorry, that was my cat. Um, okay, anyways, if in a dopamine deficit state, it will take 1 to 3 days to get back to baseline, depending on how compulsive the bad habit was. So, I would say like it would take me probably a long time. Well, it would probably take me like the 1 to 3 days, but I would say for the porn one, that one is like the most hardest one to break because I've actually gone for like months. I think I've done like almost 2 months recently, and then I went back into it, but not as bad. So it's just like I don't know. That one's a really hard one to break. Um, so anyway, um, and then scrolling also I'm really addicted to. And the hard thing about breaking these ones too is that my brain and like your brain is just like not really used to doing other habits, and then there's also triggers too that you're unaware of that will just like kind of put you back into doing it as well. And then he said you will feel bad while you're doing this purge, but your brain knows what to do and it will take you back to baseline. And actually that's true because I tried recently doing like just being bored and not doing anything, and my brain actually was starting to entertain itself in a way, and I was actually feeling really good, and I actually slept better. So it's true that your brain actually just knows what to do. Um, and then he said have self-compassion because you're outgunned in a world that wants to hijack your brain. That's actually true. Basically, literally, like I have a psychology degree, I studied this stuff, and literally, like, I just feel kind of bad about how, like, effed up society is and how, like, it's literally just humans or people taking advantage of other people constantly. Like, literally constantly. And, it's really bad. And I've been in, like, chat rooms and stuff, like, with men's groups and stuff, and you get these groups of men, and I'm not just trying to like be a man hater or something, but I'm saying there's like groups of men who they sit there and they just talk about how they're gonna f over other guys through sales or through whatever, and they're literally just bragging about it, and then like how much they can rip off people or how they can scam or how they can this or that. So there's like so many scammers. There's so many people that are just like literally just greedy, and they're all just trying to like, they call it leverage. They're like, we leverage this, but basically they're talking about like how we can like hack people's brains and like scam them for more money. And they're like, we're leveraging this. It's like you are so full of shit, and you don't even like maybe you're crazy enough to like believe that you're like not a greedy person, but some people are just like super greedy, especially when it comes to scams, when it comes to like selling stuff that's like literally just hurting people, and then pushing it, and then they like say that it's like, oh well, you have your individual choice, every person's got their choice, and it's like, bro, that's literally messed up. Like obviously the world's falling apart, and there's just like these like rich greedy like you know, that's like, in my opinion, that's bad. Like, but there's like a ton of people like that. So anyways, it's crazy. Um, yeah, and they're all trying to like hijack other people's brains. That's what it comes down to. Is like people are trying to use psychological, like known, I guess you could call it exploits of the human brain against each other constantly. It's just like horrible. You know what I mean? Like, that's just horrible. Um, I hate that stuff. I literally hate that stuff so much because I've been involved and like talking to people that are like scammy like that, and like because you get sucked into it, right? Like I early on I got sucked into like a pyramid scheme. Like I went to a meeting for it, and luckily I didn't get sucked in far beyond just the first meeting. But me and my friend went, and we were like I think we were like 16 or 17, and we like slowly like everything was just like red flags, and we were like, this is a fucking scam. And it's just literally like so many scams. But anyways, sorry. I'm gonna just go back to this list here. That was funny. Oh yeah, and he said like only stop 90% of your fast dopamine, but schedule 10% in. It makes it more likely you'll succeed. So for me, I guess like I'd had to schedule in like, 10% scrolling, and I don't know what I'm gonna do about the porn thing because when I don't use my phone or I don't use like the internet, I'm actually really good. Like I'm actually like really able to. But if I'm on my phone, if I have access to it, somehow it makes it way more harder. So I don't really want to talk about it exactly right now, but I'm thinking like maybe there's a way I could like kind of properly wean off of this, or I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's the whole topic's embarrassing. But anyways, um, I don't know. That one just fucks me up. I I just pray to God that I could do something about that. Um, and then the next one he said was you got to reappraise discomfort and interpret the bad things, the quote unquote bad things, as good. And then I said the way I interpret it is that I say that it's good for praising God because a lot of this stuff, like this self improvement stuff, whatever, blah blah blah, I actually find it I don't like it. Because a lot of time they just say like, oh, and then you'll feel good and you'll feel positive, and it's good to feel positive, right? And it's good to feel good, right? And it's like so it's like to me it's kind of like hedonistic, and so I look past that and I look like, well, what's the point, right? Like, are we just trying to feel good constantly? And actually, I don't think so. I kind of think life is just suffering, and that we're born, we suffer, we die, and then we're judged and we go to heaven or hell. So the way I frame it is that, or the way I interpret it is that uh, these bad things, like the discomfort things or the hard things, are they're necessary for praising God. That's how I put it because um, yeah, like I think it's more important to praise God and give him thanks always, and then to also to help other people to worship God. And I think that we worship God through actually doing like these hard things, because it sets an example, and I think it's what God wants us to do, because it keeps us away from a lot of like the evils of the world, which are those like scammers and greed and lust and envy and wrath and all these other things that kind of suck us in. And I think that so remembering like to be humble, and that we're doing all this in order to praise God's holy name. That's what I think personally. Okay, and then the next point he had was, he said, win the evening. So he said that a fast dopamine evening will lead to a dopamine deficit morning, and that'll lead to you playing catch up. So, like right now, like I'm in like a dopamine deficit. I did that. I was all this morning, but I wanted to like do this because I feel like it's more like a way to break the cycle. Make these notes and talk about this video because like last night I was watching porn and jerking off like multiple times, and I don't know, something like that's the binge thing. It just like you kind of, at least for me, it's like kind of like I could just fall into it, and I just say like basically I just say F it, and yeah, so pretty much, and then my brain's just like dopamine deficited, in a dopamine deficit, and it's just kind of like a loop or a cycle, kind of, you know, because then when you're in the dopamine deficit, you're like, I got to do these hard things to make me feel better, and then um, you know, because you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever, and then you start trying to do hard things, but it's like you're in the dopamine deficit. You don't have the habits, you don't have nothing yet. You're just trying to sheer force it, and then eventually, like, you know, your nervous system gets the better of you, and you just like fall back. You fail, and then you fall back into doing your fast dopamine habits, and then um, you feel shitty again. So, anyways, he said that winning the evening is important, and then he said a good evening example is that turn off all your technology by 9 p.m. Make no big decisions after 9 p.m. Don't have any calls after 9 p.m. I might break that one because I like to pray the Bible or read the Bible with people after 9 p.m. sometimes, or I might have to try and move it till before, but that one I kind of have a habit of, so I have to kind of rearrange my evening. And then he said turn a red light on. And I was thinking I might get a red light therapy light because those are supposed to be helpful for depression and for other stuff. So I might order one. And then he said go for a walk in nature for 20 to 30 minutes. I actually love going for walks, so I might just continue this, like, but I'll add like the evening walk. And he said he talks to himself out loud. I don't know if I'll do that one. Sometimes I can talk to myself out loud, but a lot of time I don't really feel like it. Write down anything that he realized on the walk as a letter to himself, and then lay in bed and read until he falls asleep. I do like the letter writing thing, or just the writing thing in general. I don't know if I'd write letters to myself, but I really enjoy handwriting and penmanship. And actually what I enjoy is improving my penmanship and just writing for the sake of writing. I really enjoy that. Of course I do like kind of like the story aspect of writing. That one's kind of fun too, but I actually find that one to be really difficult too. But anyway, I just kind of like writing. And then he says read until you fall asleep. And I think that's a really good one too. To just read in the evening instead of being on your phone until you fall asleep. And actually I've had better sleeps when I do that. And then he said you got to structure your day right. So this is like a comprehensive thing actually. Like he started with the beginning part about like the fast dopamine, getting out of it. And now he's talking about how to like restructure your whole day. So this is actually pretty important because I you know, I've tried to do like parts of this at times, but I've never had like the full thing. So I think it's kind of important to have like more of the full picture. But he said structure your day right. You've got 3 phases from 0 to 8 hours after you wake up, your dopamine, your cortisol, and your norepinephrine are highest. Do your hard and analytical work in that first phase. Phase 2, 9 to 16 hours, your serotonin is elevated. You're in a more relaxed state, and it's time for brainstorming and creative work. And then phase 3 is 17 to 24 hours after you wake up. It's time for sleep, and you should have no light, and you should have low temperature in your room. So yeah, like doing the hard work thing, that's gotta be done in the morning for the most part, but you could also do stuff later on too. But your brain is better in the morning for the hard work because it's biological. And then the next part, he's talking about identity without evidence is just fragile consistency. So this one's actually a really hard one for me, and it's actually really true. But he said that in order to create the identity of being someone who does hard things, you'll need at least a week of doing that hard thing. So that's kind of true, but still I'll say that this one's really hard for me. But he said that your identity is based on evidence. And it's kind of like a loop that your identity is here, and it informs your actions, and then your actions informs your identity. So it's kind of a loop in a way. And this one is hard for me because I've done hard things in the past, but I feel almost no reward ever. And I have a very difficult time speaking about my identity. And so anyway, shit. Yeah, like I've achieved like, a university degree, undergraduate degree in psychology. I've run 3 half marathons in my life. I've self-taught myself the piano to learn like some hard songs. Like I learned the song to Xanarkand on piano by myself. I have I don't know, like flown out to a different state by myself, or like a different country actually, because I'm in Canada. I flew to the States by myself to meet people. I have presented at international psychology conferences. I've done research, independent or semi-independent research, with support from other people, but I've built airplanes before. I built parts of airplanes in a manufacturing factory. I built part of fighter jets, the F-35. I was part of building those, the tail section. I've done like a ton of different things, hard things, but it's the feeling good about it part, the identity part. I don't feel fucking shit. I don't feel shit. I never really feel shit. And so it doesn't really make sense to me, the identity part. Like I can never really form an identity very good, The thing that makes sense to me is that like that God loves me. Actually that's hard to believe, but actually it makes sense to me. Uh, but like this like identity stuff, I have such a hard time with it, and I think that's really largely due to my childhood and all the abuse I went through. Uh, so yeah. But then he said that all behavior change is identity based. I do believe that. That's true. Um, and that one's actually kind of scary too because we're being manipulated to change our behavior, and it's actually it hurts a lot of our identities too, actually. And there's massive identity issues in the world, especially even at the country level. Like Canada has a huge identity issue. Um, and yeah, so anyways, that's like a huge topic. It's a really important topic, and it's a really core topic to everybody. But anyways, yeah, because that one is like the question of who are you, and then sometimes you try and pick who you are, right? But then it's like, well, why did you pick that? And so it goes into meaning. So it's really important, and it's really important, um, and then it goes into like how we feel about like what we picked, and then whether other people even believe us, like um, and then yeah, so it's really important, actually. It's a really important one. Okay, and then he said focus on becoming the type of person who can do that hard thing. And then I made a note that this one really screws me up a lot because I've tried to change my identity a lot. um, and I think that's kind of, in a way, it's like kind of crazy, but I don't know. uh, yeah, because I see some people with fake identities, and I'm just like, you are fucking fake, and I don't believe you. So yeah, that one's really tough, and I don't like the like brainwashing or the gaslighting of yourself aspect as well. So yeah, I don't know. I would say the best reason I have is just like, I want to do these things because I want to, because it's like I feel like I'm serving God, really, if I if I'm doing good, and then I lead as an example for other people, and I preach the holy word, because I don't really think we can do a lot of these things without God's help, personally. Um, and a lot of the things that we're doing, if it's not really doing it for God, if we're not working for God, we're doing it in vain, because who are we working for? We're working for the devil, in my opinion. You're working for, I don't know, people throw out a lot of reasons, but a lot of them are not that good reasons, in my opinion, of why they're doing things. Like, it's like I can see through it. I can see that it's like, oh well, you're just, a lot of it, you're doing it for money. you know you're afraid to say these things because you want money. You're afraid to criticize Jews or Israel, or speak the truth about how races are. Well, because you've wrapped your identity into something else, and now you're afraid. It's like, duh. So you kind of have to, at the same time, be real about these things. But anyways, that's kind of my rant on that. The next thing he said was never miss 2 days in a row of doing the hard things habit. Um, and he said that you're going to miss days, your life is going to happen, and you're going to need a rest. And that's true, actually, because especially like I'm older now, like I'm 30, and it's actually a lot harder to really do things and then not just feel like completely bagged and beat. So um, I think that the main thing he's saying is like, don't let it turn into 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. because then you just wake up in back to square one with a dopamine depleted brain again. So he said then when you're intimidated, break your task down to 5% of what the whole is and do the 5%. So like an example is, for me, if playing 10 minutes of piano is too much for me that day, just do 30 seconds. And I will need this because I go into like these psychosis states, and I don't even know if they're actually psychosis states, but I go into these like states of thinking or feeling or like existing where I feel like I literally can't do anything. And I don't even know if it's fully related to dopamine depletion. I don't really think that. I think it's also got to do with something going on in my brain, like cycling or something like that. Like maybe it's bipolar, maybe it's something else, cyclothymia or like something, but I do feel like my brain or like my nervous system or something, I go into like a state where I'm just like, literally I feel like I can't even hardly do anything, you know? And those are the hardest days. Those are the hardest places to be in, because they're so truly difficult. And I'm not just like, you know, trying to make stuff up here. I'm serious. Like, that's so difficult. And so I will need definitely to have these times where I just do like 5% or like a small thing, you know? And even if I don't slip back in, like he said, easy slip-ins when you fall off the wagon are the key to consistency. Even if I can't, like, you know, slip back in, at least I did 5%. And then the next one he talked about was mesmerizing yourself into a ritual. I actually don't love this one because it kind of can turn evil really quick. But he said that the part that was good though was that he said that you should have a keystone habit. So this is just something that's like a trigger for something, like if you're going to do hard work, like if you're about to do your hard studying, you know, he said he makes a cup of tea and he slices an apple and it triggers his brain or primes him for that, doing that hard work. He said it puts him into a flow state already. So that one is actually true, you know, having these like triggers or whatever. But he used some quote about turning routines into rituals and making them sacred and holy. And that one is evil. It can be evil. Because the truth is that the difference between a ritual and a routine is the meaning. And some of these people, they self-development, whatever, personal development people, they turn their life into rituals, but what ritual are they serving? Are they serving God, or are they now serving making money? Are they now serving, you know, vanity? Like, why are they doing whatever their ritual is, right? So that I think is important to stay balanced and humble, is to remember the why, right? And a lot of them never put that in there when they give this kind of advice. They never put that why advice when they're talking about something like rituals or like turning routine into rituals and meaning. They just keep it vague. They're like, oh, it's positive. Oh, you feel better. Oh, you're something, like, they just leave it vague. And that's because they're populists. They're trying to appeal to the mass audience. That's what all this self-development, whatever, they want to appeal to Christians. They want to appeal to Muslims. They want to appeal to Jews, Buddhists, Sikhs. They want to appeal to atheists. They want to appeal to pagans. They want to appeal to everybody. And that's why they never... that's why they'll never say um, something like, what a ritual, what the purpose of a ritual is. And rituals have been around forever, right? But their rituals are to serve something. They're about meaning. And you have evil rituals too. And it makes me feel like a shudder, but like Jews have a ritual where they sacrifice babies. Um, and that's not even a joke. I'm serious. Like, in the Old Testament, it says, do not sacrifice your children to Molech. And then there's this video on YouTube of the 1933 Chicago World's Fair Jewish pageant where like thousands of Jews bring out this statue of Molech. It's like this like cow statue. And then like demon god statue. And then they're worshiping and dancing around it. And then they like take a baby and put it inside of it like an open hatch. That shit's evil, man. So anyways, I had to make a clear point about that. And then he said number 9 is never set a pace you can't keep. That's really important too. And I think that in my own life I've really struggled with pacing because I have some sort of disorder or trauma or something where it makes me really unstable, mood-wise, energy-wise, thinking-wise. Although I've always been trying to like adjust for it and work around it or whatever, but I'm trying to work with it too, just to balance. So I'll try and set like a better pace. Like I won't try and say like, oh, I'm gonna do all of this stuff, and then like I'll just crash it, burn out after like a freaking 2 days or like a week or something, And I see people do this all the time, especially like these self-development people, because they're very like insecure people. A lot of them, it's part of the reason. Some of them are like not, but a lot of them can be, is they really want to feel better about themselves or about how other people treat them or something. And it's like, they have these like core attachment issues or core self-esteem issues. And so they're kind of trying to compensate. And so they set like a unachievable pace, right? And I see this with people who go to university, like my brother, and I'm talking to other people too. And it's like from the outset, like when they're planning and they're dreaming these things, they really want to make things like so amazing in their life. And then real life happens and it's hard as frick and they get knocked off, and then they're trying to explain it to people about what they're doing and nobody gives them the credit, or people scoff at them, or people smirk, or people question them and try and like put them down or whatever. And it just like, it can be really demoralizing and it can really suck and it can make you feel awful. And then also your own biology, like your body can burn out, your nervous system after a while can be really taxed. So these pacing things are real. But anyways, then number 10, he said the effort is the reward. He called that the discipline paradox. I don't really want to go into that one too much, but I do believe it's pretty much true. Yeah. And anyway, the number 11 was, he said, self-negotiation prevents self-termination. And this one was kind of important because he actually was sort of talking about parts work, or working with your inner child, essentially what he was talking about. He said that when your inner voice is really loud and attacking you to do anything else than the hard thing that you're trying to do, the task, like the hard task that you're trying to do, studying, working out, whatever it is, and you are supposed to do 3 things. The first thing is label what's happening out loud. So you say, I want to focus, but part of me wants to scroll on social media. Part of me wants something easier to do. Part of me wants fast dopamine. And then the second part is that you're supposed to curiously investigate what that rebellious part of you wants. So think of it like a child that wants something, you try and meet its need. And then, so the need is that the part of you actually is saying is that it's saying, this is really hard and I don't want to do this. I want something easier. I want some fast dopamine. And then number 3 is, then you're supposed to ask, how can I satisfy both parts of me? And then so his example was that, well, I can play music while I'm working. And he said that you're supposed to incorporate the rebellious parts of you and not discard them. So I think that's really important too, like, and that's everything basically. But I think that's important because when you cut off these like parts of you, they don't go away actually. They still live in you because they're part of you. It's like a part of yourself or whatever. But it's kind of like that old meme of like the 2 wolves inside of you. Which one do you feed? Well, I guess you kind of got to feed both of them, but you have to like, work with both of them in a way. I don't know. Does that make sense? Because, yeah, I don't know really actually. Like, you're just not supposed to discard those parts of you that's like an inner child or like a inner voice. You're not supposed to just throw it away, ignore it. A lot of people will tell you to do that. They'll say like, oh, that's your inner bitch, or like that's something like that. Like, don't put yourself down like that, I don't think. Like, I think, yeah, probably work with it is a good idea too. So anyways, that was the whole thing. I kind of got to do a lot of dopamine detox now, so basically I'm just gonna, I don't know, like, I think probably what I gotta do is, because my main downfall is like the phone and the internet. I'm wondering if I should put away my phone and my computer, because that's pretty hard for me. But then I could look at my phone like at a certain point of the day, or I could scroll for a certain point of the day. I don't really know what I should do. Like, that's kind of a hard thing. But I do know I'm supposed to, it'll be like 1 to 3 days, and that'll be really hard, but my dopamine baseline will come back. And then I don't know. I gotta kind of insert some things I could do otherwise. Like, I already go to the gym, but next I could do like the deep work thing, or like do some work. But also I kind of have to have some kind of an output, and I don't know. It's gonna be kind of tricky. So I'm just gonna navigate this slowly and keep at it.